Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, production of iHeartRadio.
And welcome to another edition of Activists Around the World, where I am sick. This happens at least once a year where I get to do my sexy voice and I sound like an 80-year-old smoker.
That's I like how your sexy voice is an 80-year-old smoker.
I mean, whose isn't, Anney?
Okay.
Is yours not? Right. That's the way it goes, right? I know I'll go an octave lower. This is the only time I'm probably a bass if I were to sing.
Oof. I think singing would not be ideal for you right now.
So we just recently talked about our gaming updates, which I'm still playing things. And so as we had mentioned then, and we had planned to do a follow-up with people from the gaming industry, specifically Black women in the gaming industry. According to thegamer.com, the percentage of women and non-binary folks that are in development have increased from 24% in 2022 to 32% in 2024. But of course, when it comes to those in the Black community, it is significantly less. So much so, as we talked about the numbers, it's like abysmal. In 2021, only 5% of people surveyed by the International Game Developers Association were from the Black community. And this was from a 2022 NPR article written highlighting Black game developers, which we did use for some of the information about our activists this day. Again, it was a very limited amount of information specifically, and to the point that one article talked about the fact that Black women have not been in the industry long enough to even count. Like they could not get numbers. Like it'd been so small. So from GameDeveloper.com, a 2024 article written by Justin Carter talks about where the game industry is in relation to Black developers. And the article is titled, "Are Game Studios Suddenly Abandoning Black Developers?" And here's the quote. "Of those that have been in the industry for 21 plus years, 92% were white men. Group-wise, Asian men came in second at 15%, followed by Hispanic Latino men at 8%, Black men 6%, and Asian and white women 5% each." And this is where they're coming from. The survey indicated that almost no Black or Hispanic Latino women have been in the industry that long. So they could not get numbers because they have not been in the industry long enough, which is absurd. So with all of that, we do want to take the time to feature the Black women who are making an impact in that industry and who are a part of that industry. And that includes Catt Smalls. We talked a bit about her game, Sweetxheart, which is spelled Sweetxheart. It, I guess, came out in 2019 because she's been developing it for a minute. And she has so many others. So if you go to her website, she has a list of all the games that she's worked on or all the projects that she's a part of. And from that site, it says, quote, "People are the center of everything I do. Over the past 15 years, I've championed digital design at increasing scales, mentored and managed junior and senior designers, and collaborated to craft inclusive user experiences with agility and thoughtful consideration. I work with designers and product development teams to gather insights, prioritize customer pains and opportunities, create an inspiring strategic vision, and bring ideas to life. In my spare time, I make games, write, speak publicly, and work to make the world a better place by organizing events across the tech and game industries." So she does a lot. And with her years of work, she has used her experience to help others in this industry. With Chris Algu, she co-founded the Game Devs of Color Expo in 2016. And here's a bit of information from her feature with the NPR article I mentioned earlier. Quote, "The Game Devs of Color Expo is a space for developers of color to meet one another and showcase their work. Several events have been held over the years, some in partnership with major gaming companies like Xbox, Nintendo, and Oculus. Besides bringing developers of color together, Small says the expo helps to break down the barriers that people of color may face when trying to get into the industry. She says, we are actively giving people money to make their games. And since 2019, the Game Devs of Color Expo has given more than $360,000 to game developers of color.
And in that same interview, she talked about her journey coding. Quote, when I was 10, I actually started to learn how to program so I could make my own dress-up dolls. And eventually I learned that you could make games as well. I had a tutorial for the dress-up doll program that I was able to read. It was updated in like 1999. And I think I looked at it in like the year 2000. Smalls met with others interested in programming and video games through online forums. She said, "We did collaborate, which was really fun. So I got to learn how to make art for these dress-up doll games that we were creating, and we would kind of trade art back and forth and figure out how to build everybody's work into one cohesive experience, which was really fun."
And in another interview she did with Johannes Epen, sorry if I mispronounced that, she talked about the importance of diversity in the industry. She says, quote, "There are a lot of people who play video games, but it is interesting how much less diverse the people making games are. A lot of the things I and my friends are doing is to make sure that there is equal access to the tools and the knowledge that is out there. Making video games is one of the easiest ways to learn programming. Part of the reason is that in some schools there are game development classes, and in many other disadvantaged places, there aren't a variety of classes for computer science or video games. We are trying to show people that there are a lot of game developers who are, for example, Black. The knowledge alone that there are other people like you out there is super great."
And she continues talking about the difference it makes when a developer has a diverse background. Quote, "It's been really cool to see the stuff that people come up with. The traditional thing that people think of when thinking about video gaming is maybe Fortnite. The more diverse viewpoints you have, the more potential strange and awesome things people come up with. Take that game called Nour," spelled N-O-U-R, by the way, continues. "They took a bunch of foods and colors like popcorn, bubble tea, pancakes, and sausages. You can do weird and satisfying things to them, drop bubble, popcorn, and so on. It appeases the natural urge of playing with your food in that space that has no limits. I don't think that would have happened if that person wouldn't have learned how to make video games. Getting as many people as possible to learn how to make video games will result in a lot of really fun, random, and interesting combinations of mechanics and ideas."
And in that same interview, she talks about the game Sweetxheart and her thoughts behind it. Quote, "Sweetxheart is a game that started as an independent study project during grad school. I kept working on it. It is this autobiographic game using several experiences I had in college. I grew up as a Black woman in the Bronx, going to undergrad school in Manhattan, going every morning from a place where you're surrounded by so many different people from so many different places to a place that was mostly white was really disorienting to me. Also navigating the tech industry at the same time. Making this game has been very therapeutic."
And she continues explaining the name. "The name is based on catcalling. Many people called me Sweetheart on the street, which is a very creepy and uncomfortable term for me as an adult person. It also describes the player's experience very nicely. The X is silent. In many Japanese video games, they have an X in the middle of the name to make it sound cooler. I thought that would work very well. A moment where the character is pushing back against the thing that people call her. A fun take on the word itself. It stuck really quickly with me."
I'm excited to try this. And the game took her several years to develop and create, but she committed to it, saying, quote, "I hope that by playing it, people get to see what it was to be me at the time, being 19 years old, trying to figure out a lot about my life, understanding how people saw me and not just how I saw myself. I had a lot of fun testing it out with people, also using a lot of my UX design chops going through the process." I love when people talk about things I don't know, like UX. I know of it, I don't know it, but I'm like, good job. So it's obvious she's been very busy in her work and continues to create great games. In the NPR feature, they asked her for her advice for others who want to get into the gaming industry, and she said, quote, "Find your people, because your community is going to be the thing that gives you energy to keep going, and your community is going to be what inspires you and helps you keep pushing to learn and grow."
Yes. Great advice. And obviously, we want to check out these games. We love getting recommendations from you listeners. If there's anything we missed. And that's one of the things we love about indie games is this very thing, is seeing all these new takes. So very cool. All right, listeners, if you would like to contact us, you can email us at hello@stuffwenevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff We Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have a TeePublic store, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christine, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you, and I'm sorry.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.